gives me no pleasure to say this, Commanders fans, but the National Football League has figured out Kliff Kingsbury and the Washington Commanders offense here over the last several weeks, and you guys can see the numbers and the results. 3 straight losses for the Washington Commanders against the Steelers, Eagles, and now the Dallas Cowboys. And today we're going to be breaking down what the NFL has figured out about Kliff Kingsbury and this Commanders offense and how they've exposed it and how Kliff can actually make it better down the home stretch of this season. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Before we get started today, get us started down there in the comments section by letting me know, how concerned are you about the Commanders offense right now? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down there in the comments section. For me personally, I'm going to give it about an 8. I'm pretty concerned. So the turning point, in my opinion, guys, is from where the Commanders offense went from one of the best in the league to one of the worst in the league here over the last 3 weeks was that game in Week 10 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Mike Tomlin, who has traditionally done a really good job against rushing-style quarterbacks as he's had Lamar Jackson in his division for such a long time, played Jayden Daniels for the first time in his NFL career and kind of deployed that Lamar Jackson kind of plan, and it just ended up working. And you guys can see here after that game, and people have been able to copy what Mike Tomlin did in that football game, the dramatic downward trend for the Washington Commanders offense, about 6 points less per game over the last 3 games. They're also averaging almost 90 yards per game less than what they were in the first 9 weeks of the season. The yards per play has dipped dramatically as well. And then Jayden Daniels' completion percentage has dipped over 10 points in the last 3 weeks. That is significant. He's also getting sacked, a full sack and plus over these last 3 weeks compared to what it was at the beginning of the season. So the question that every Commanders fan should have on their mind right now is, what exactly is the issue with this football team? Well, coming up here, we're going to be breaking it down for you right here on the Commanders Report. But first, let me know for today's pinned comment, what's the biggest reason for the offensive collapse in Washington over the last 3 weeks? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Like I mentioned, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Fanatics. And while I'm talking about Fanatics, you guys can go down there, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section, and let me know what's the biggest issue driving this collapse in Washington. Before we get into the rest of today's content, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, where you guys can pick up a brand new Jayden Daniels jersey and get it in your closet today, or you guys can gift it to somebody special in your life when you guys use chatsports.com/Daniels. And guys, when you click that link and you make a purchase, we actually get part of the proceeds. So if you want to give us a little Christmas tip, as well as getting a Jayden Daniels jersey in your life right now, you guys can go chatsports.com/Daniels, get a great price on a brand new Washington Commanders number 5 Jayden Daniels jersey today. All right, so the big question that everyone should be asking, what has changed? What is the difference from those first 9 weeks where this was arguably the best offense in the National Football League to these last 3 weeks where they've been one of the worst offenses in the league? Well, let's break it down, okay? Because I think 2 things happened. Number one, teams really started to figure out what Kliff was doing on early downs, all right? And they've been able to really have success in those first 2 downs, and it's putting Jayden and the offense in tough third and long situations. Then number 2, teams have switched from playing mostly zone coverage to playing mostly man coverage against Jayden Daniels and this Commanders offense. So first, let's talk about the first one here, which is that Kliff is being way too predictable on early downs. And this was a problem of his at Texas Tech. It was a problem with his in Arizona, and teams really started to figure it out. Now they're starting to figure it out here in Washington. And what's kind of predictable about it is that on first down, these defenses know that Kliff Kingsbury wants to get 4 or more yards to put his offense in a position to succeed on second and third downs. And the way he does that is he either runs the ball or he gets the ball out of Jayden Daniels' hands extremely quickly via a screen pass. So what teams do, they put an extra guy in the box to defend the run, and then they put guys very aggressively up on wide receivers and press coverage to put them in better position to blow up screens, and they're ready for it. They're playing downhill, and they know it's coming, and he doesn't provide any wrinkles. He doesn't do any fake screens. He doesn't do any play action. He doesn't do any deep shots on first down from under center to keep the defense honest. Everyone knows what Kliff is doing, and it's actually a little pathetic that Kliff can't see that teams know what's coming at this point. Now, the problem here is that it doesn't keep defenses honest. Like I said, guys, these corners, these people on the outside can just defend these screens super aggressively because they know no fake screen is coming. They know the deep pass likely isn't coming on first down. Kliff is extremely conservative on 1st and 10 and sometimes even 2nd and long as well. These teams can play extremely aggressively, and it just puts the Commanders in a tough position to actually have success on those early downs, leading to 3rd and longs. So by actually trying to avoid 3rd and longs on 1st and 2nd down, Kliff is actually putting this team in position to be in 3rd and long. And here's how you fix it, guys. You got to go more play action. You got to go more drop back passing, especially down the field to Terry McLaurin when they throw those one-on-one looks and press coverage at him. And then you got to throw some fake screens. All right, just one. Please, Kliff Kingsbury. Just have Jayden fake that screen, send Terry McLaurin on a freaking go route. I guarantee you the first time you do that, it's going to be a touchdown if Jayden Daniels throws an accurate football. The teams are playing that downhill and that aggressively right now because they know you never do fake screens. So Kliff Kingsbury, please, please, please keep these defenses honest on 1st and 2nd down. Now let's shift over to the other thing that defenses are doing. And then this really happened after the Steelers game, which is that they switched from zone to man, okay? And the reason why teams in the early part of the season were playing zone against Jayden Daniels and this Commanders offense is because Jayden is a dynamic rusher, right? And if you play man coverage against a dynamic rusher and they get past the initial pass rush, you have no eyes on the quarterback, and they're just pretty much there to run free, and Jayden could have huge gains, all right? So usually when you're facing good rushers like Lamar Jackson, like Jayden Daniels, defenses want to play mostly zone because then you have zone eyes on the quarterback. So if he takes off to run, everybody can go gang tackle the quarterback, all right? Sounds good, right? But what Pittsburgh did, what they did differently, and what worked, and they've been doing this against Lamar Jackson for years, is Mike Tomlin sent 5 rushers or more consistently, taking away Jayden Daniels' rush lanes, and then they played man coverage on the back end. And why this works, guys? Number one, 5+ rushers limits the rushing lanes for Jayden Daniels, so he couldn't be effective or as effective with his legs in the drop back passing game. We saw how effective Jayden was, especially on 3rd down, picking up 3rd downs with his legs when people would only rush 4 earlier in the season. Now that's not happening because people are blitzing. Then number 2, Washington's lack of wide receiver talent and depth is not allowing this team to really consistently separate against man coverage. And then the one guy that they do have that consistently does separate against man coverage, Terry McLaurin, is getting double teamed most of the time. Or at the very least, he's getting safety help shaded to him over the top. So you're seeing a lot more targets go to Noah Brown, De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, these guys, because Terry McLaurin's getting doubled. But the problem is these guys, these other supplementary receivers don't get open enough versus man coverage against starting capable NFL corners, and it's really stymieing this Commanders passing attack because you can't run the football with Jayden Daniels because the run lanes are getting plugged up and these receivers aren't getting open for him enough to be effective versus man coverage. And the worst part about this whole situation, guys, is I'm not sure there's a way out, right? If teams want to play man coverage and, they want to double Terry McLaurin, there's really nothing the Commanders can do to stop that unless the secondary wide receivers actually step up and have good football games and prove they can consistently separate against man coverage. Noah Brown, I'm looking at you. De'Ami Brown, I'm looking at you. Alameda Zaccheaus, I'm looking at you. Luke McCaffrey, I'm looking at you. We need somebody to step up in this wide receiver room, and also Zach Ertz, who's a receiver more often than not. He needs to step up and get more separation against man coverage as well. And then I think another big element that the Commanders need to do here moving forward is you need that run game to come back, because the run game in the first 9 weeks of the season was really the key to the Commanders' success. Jayden Daniels was getting all the press because he's the number 2 overall pick. He's a dynamic rusher. He's a super dynamic talent overall. But really, this Commanders' run game was really, really good. And you saw that reflected by how much they were passing the ball with Jayden Daniels through the first 9 weeks. It really wasn't that much, all right? There's just 28.2 pass attempts per game for Jayden in the first 9 weeks, and now that has ballooned all the way up to 34.6 pass attempts per game. That's 6 more pass attempts per game, guys. That is a lot in a National Football League game, especially when you're talking about averages here. And then you look at the results. When the team throws the ball less than 31 times, the Washington Commanders have a record of 6-1, okay? And then when Jayden Daniels throws 31 times or more, they're 1-4 this season. By the way, that one win was the game against Chicago, which you only won because of a miracle Hail Mary. So really, you're like 0-5 when Jayden Daniels throws over 31 times in an NFL football game. So the run game needs to come back. But unfortunately, the run game has decreased in production. You take a look in the first 9 weeks, it was awesome, man. 163.6 rush yards per game and over 5 yards a carry. All right, that is very, very efficient. One of the best, if not the best, rushing attacks in the National Football League. Then all of a sudden, these last 3 weeks, because teams are getting more aggressive, you look at these numbers here and you're averaging almost 65 rush yards less per game over the last 3, and then you're also averaging a full yard less per carry over the last 3 games as well. So this run game really needs to get better, and really where that starts, guys, is the offensive line. This offensive line hasn't been fantastic as a run blocking unit, especially as of late. You guys can see the run blocking grades, and it's not absolutely terrible. These guys are ranking about league average in most of these categories, but the Commanders don't have one single player on this entire offensive line that is overperforming expectations at their given position in the run game. So that is definitely something that is hindering this Washington Commanders football team right now. Then you add the fact that the Commanders' top 2 running backs are both injured right now. Brian Robinson Jr. is dealing with an ankle injury he suffered in the Cowboys game. Same thing with Austin Eckler, who suffered a really nasty concussion towards the end of that same Cowboys game. Now, Jeremy McNichols has had some pretty nice moments. Same thing with Chris Rodriguez Jr. I do think the depth in this running back room is pretty good, but the injuries certainly don't help this team get better on the ground in the weeks to come. So, we've been talking about the Kliff Kingsbury cliff here on the show over the last week or so. And, I'm worried that he isn't going to be able to make these proper adjustments to turn things around. I'm worried that, like years past, he's not going to be able to identify how teams are attacking him, and he's not going to make the proper adjustments mid-season to get this thing turned around and get this team back to where we were in the first 9 weeks of the NFL season. You take a look here of what Kliff has done since after week 7, and since his time as an offensive play caller, both in college and in the National Football League since 2013. All right, so since he took the head coaching job at Texas Tech in 2013, he's got a 25.6% win percentage after week 7. College and NFL in those, in pretty much the second half of the season. Right now, Commanders sitting at 0-3 in the second half of the year. It's definitely not looking good for Mr. Kliff Kingsbury, and he needs to turn it around if he wants this narrative below me right now to go away. So you tell me. Let me know down there in the comments section. Do you trust Kliff Kingsbury to turn this thing around on offense? Right now, I got to say no, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section by giving me a yes or no. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of today's show. Make sure you type real one in all caps down there in the comments section if you made it to the end of today's show. The reason why that makes you a real one is because it tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed our content today by making it to the very end. So if you really enjoyed our content today, we put out videos like this every single day here on the Commanders Report. So if you want more on the Burgundy and Gold, just like today's video, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. And until next time, guys, go raise some hail.